The forest floor of the Amazon never lies still. Beneath the constant drone of insects and the echo of distant bird calls, the ground itself pulses with movement. Beetles crossing leaf litter, ants carving highways through moss, and spiders waiting in the quiet recesses of their webs. But amid this shifting tapestry of browns and greens, one presence seizes attention with startling clarity. A frog, no larger than a thumb, its body painted in neon fire. Electric yellows, sapphire blues, and blood-bright reds blaze against the subdued canvas of the jungle, an impossible defiance of camouflage. This is the poison dart frog, and its very skin seems to announce that it does not fear discovery. It wants to be seen. At first glance, these frogs appear almost ornamental, nature indulging in excess for no practical reason. But closer study reveals that these vivid patterns are not decoration, but weapons, a warning system honed by survival. Bright coloration in the animal kingdom, known as aposematism, signals danger to potential predators. To a jaguar cub sniffing at the undergrowth or a bird pecking curiously at the ground, the neon skin is a message written in color. Approach at your own risk. The danger is not an empty bluff. In their tissues, these frogs store alkaloid poisons of staggering potency. Just a few micrograms of batrachotoxin, one of the compounds carried by some species, can shut down sodium channels in nerves and muscles, paralyzing the victim until their heart ceases to beat. Yet the frogs are not born toxic. Unlike venomous snakes or spiders, which synthesize their own chemical weapons, poison dart frogs acquire their toxins from the minute arthropods they consume, ants, mites, and beetles that themselves feed on toxic plants. The frog is a collector, a biochemical archivist. Within its tiny body, molecules from 1,000 meals are absorbed, modified, and reassembled into a toxin profile that can vary not only between species, but between populations living in different regions. A frog in one valley may carry a cocktail entirely distinct from its cousin across the ridge. In this way, they function less like predators armed with fixed weapons and more like living libraries of biochemical code, constantly updated by the ecology around them. For predators, this variability makes them unpredictable opponents. A bird that survives pecking one frog in one territory may not survive the same mistake in another. For researchers, this biochemical diversity has turned poison dart frogs into sources of both fascination and mystery. Some of their toxins have been studied for medical use, with certain alkaloids showing promise as painkillers far stronger than morphine, yet without the addictive potential. It is an irony of the natural world that compounds refined to ward off death may one day be used to preserve life. But in the wild, these frogs are not healers. They are gatekeepers, defending themselves with molecules engineered not by their bodies alone, but by the ecosystem that sustains them. The frog's role within the forest is both subtle and profound. As insectivores, they help regulate populations of ants, mites, and other invertebrates that themselves play roles in decomposition and soil cycling. By serving as both predator and prey, toxic though they are, certain snakes like the Limatophis epinephalus have evolved resistance to their poisons. They fit into an intricate network of balances. But their most striking ecological function may be as signals. The presence of brightly colored frogs is a sign of a healthy, intact ecosystem, one rich enough in arthropods to sustain their toxic diet. Remove the frogs, and something essential in the food web unravels. And yet, some argue that these creatures stretch beyond what evolution alone would predict. How does a fragile, thumbnail-sized amphibian become one of the deadliest animals in the forest? Why do their patterns and colors resemble deliberate designs, geometry painted in living tissue? What if their true role is not simply ecological, but intentional? Here, the alien zoo theory enters the frame. It proposes that such species are not random outcomes of natural selection, but strategically placed guardians, biological nodes within a larger system of control. In this interpretation, the poison dart frog is more than a toxic curiosity. It is a biocode carrier, a living encryption device whose chemical arsenal is less about survival and more about storage. The alkaloids in its skin could be viewed as encrypted data, chemical signatures that interact with other species, with the soil, even with the rivers that flow around them. If the Amazon were a vault, these frogs might serve as its keys, scattered in plain sight, yet indecipherable without the right lens. Consider their size. Their tiny bodies make them near invisible amid the immensity of the forest, yet their colors render them instantly recognizable once spotted. They are both hidden and obvious, a paradoxical design. To predators, the color is a deterrent. To observers, human or otherwise, it is a marker, a flag declaring, "Here lies something important." There are precedents in biology for organisms serving as markers. Lichens, for instance, reveal air quality through their sensitivity to pollutants. The presence or absence of certain fish species can measure the health of coral reefs. But the poison dart frog pushes this role to an extreme. It does not just reflect the condition of the ecosystem, it actively alters it, weaving the toxic fingerprints of its prey into its own defenses, then advertising those defenses through color. It is both message and messenger. The frog's life, however, is not without peril. Their small size makes them vulnerable to dehydration, and many species depend on moist microhabitats to prevent water loss through their skin. Some carry their tadpoles on their backs to small pools of water, collected in bromeliads high in the canopy, isolating them from predators below. This parental care is another reminder that these creatures are more than chemical curiosities. They are deeply adapted, complex beings engaged in a constant struggle for survival. Their survival strategies, toxin acquisition, aposematism, microhabitat specialization, all point to a lineage finely tuned not just for living, but for persisting. And persistence may be their truest role in the theory of guardianship. Frogs as a taxonomic group are ancient, predating the dinosaurs. Through mass extinctions and climate shifts, amphibians have survived when larger, seemingly more dominant creatures vanished. To imagine poison dart frogs as alien biocarriers is to imagine a continuity of design, one that has weathered epochs of change and now persists in the crucible of the Amazon. Their brilliance, their toxicity, their fragility, and their resilience all converge into a portrait of life that feels engineered for notice. As the camera pulls back, the single frog becomes part of a larger mosaic. Other species share the frame, ants swarming a fallen fruit, a bird darting past, a snake gliding silently through the litter. Each has its role. But the frog, still glowing like a shard of light in the shadows, seems to hold a deeper significance. It is not just surviving, it is broadcasting. Its skin is a warning, its toxins a code, its existence a riddle written into the living jungle. And so the question lingers, are these frogs simply the dazzling endpoint of evolutionary trial and error? Or are they evidence of something else, something deliberate, a fragment of design left behind by an unseen hand, tasked with guarding a system far larger than themselves? The Amazon holds its secrets tightly, and in the tiny bodies of poison dart frogs, it may hold one of its most enigmatic keys. The river is not silent. Beneath its mirror surface, where sunlight filters into fractured beams and tangles of aquatic vegetation sway with the current, an entire world thrives. Fish dart between submerged roots, turtles pause in the shallows to breathe before vanishing again, and caiman patrol with practiced patience. But the most formidable resident of these waters prefers not to reveal itself at all. It waits in silence, body coiled in the darkness, a living current more ancient than the river itself. Only when the surface breaks, a sudden spray of water, a thrash of scales, does its presence become undeniable. This is Eunectes murinus, the green anaconda, a creature that does not so much move through the Amazon's waterways as embody them. The anaconda is the largest snake on Earth by mass, capable of reaching lengths exceeding 6 meters and weighing well over 200 kilograms. Its strength lies not in speed but in sheer power and stealth. Despite its size, it can vanish into water only a meter deep, concealed beneath mats of vegetation or submerged beneath a bank where only its nostrils and eyes protrude. The body beneath is a lattice of muscle, coiled springs designed to constrict with a force few animals can resist. Unlike predators that rely on venom or claws, the anaconda's method is brutally direct. Once it seizes its prey, the coils close in, tightening each time the victim exhales. It is not suffocation alone, but circulatory collapse. The pressure prevents blood from moving, halting the heart within minutes. Its prey is varied, a testament to its role as regulator of the waterways. Fish, capybaras, caiman, even deer and peccaries fall within its reach. Young anacondas subsist on smaller quarry, frogs, rodents, birds, but as they grow, their menu expands with their size. The capacity to take such a range of prey allows the snake to act as a check against overpopulation, ensuring that no single species dominates. In this way, the anaconda becomes more than predator. It becomes arbiter, its choices shaping the rhythm of life in the wetlands and flooded forests. The river itself magnifies the anaconda's power. On land, its movements can appear ungainly, its immense bulk dragging awkwardly over roots and mud. In the water, however, it is transformed. Muscular undulations propel it forward with precision, and its flattened body provides buoyancy that allows it to hover almost effortlessly. The river is both refuge and weapon, hiding the snake from view until the moment of ambush. For prey approaching the water's edge to drink, there is no defense against what lurks unseen. Yet the anaconda is not an indiscriminate killer. Its feeding is infrequent, a reflection of its metabolic strategy. A single large meal can sustain it for weeks, even months, as its body slowly digests and extracts every possible nutrient. This efficiency minimizes unnecessary predation, aligning the snake with the broader balance of the ecosystem. Each strike is calculated, each kill significant. In this sense, the anaconda embodies restraint as much as it does violence, an apex predator whose presence alone regulates behavior. Capybaras, for example, often gather in groups near water, their social vigilance increasing in the shadow of the snake's potential presence. Even when unseen, the anaconda alters the dynamics of its environment. This interplay of presence and absence feeds into a deeper question. Is the anaconda merely the product of evolution's blind refinement, or does it serve a larger, intentional role? Within the alien zoo theory, the snake is cast not as animal, but as gatekeeper. The rivers of the Amazon function like arteries of the planet, channels through which life circulates and ecosystems interconnect. To control the rivers is to control the jungle, and to guard them is to decide who passes and who does not. The anaconda, then, is imagined as a living lock, its massive coils closing upon any intruder deemed unfit to advance further into the labyrinth of the forest. The comparison is not without intrigue. Unlike crocodiles or jaguars, which actively patrol and seek prey, anacondas favor ambush. They do not roam far, but wait at critical junctures, where animal trails converge with water, where migration routes cross the river, where the vulnerable must pass. Such positioning gives the impression of strategy, as though the snake were stationed like a sentinel at thresholds. To the human eye, stumbling across such a creature while crossing a channel, the effect is deeply primal, a reminder that entry into these waterways is not granted freely, but challenged by something older, larger, and unyielding. The anaconda's biology further amplifies this impression of deliberate design. Its sensory adaptations allow it to detect subtle vibrations and thermal cues, effectively perceiving the movements of hidden prey. Its nostrils close when submerged, and its eyes are positioned high on the head to maintain watch while the body remains unseen. Even its reproduction is exaggerated. Females can give birth to dozens of live young, ensuring that the population endures despite high mortality rates among juveniles. Some females, after extended fasting, have been observed consuming portions of their own litter, a grimy yet effective recycling of resources in environments where energy is precious. Each of these traits contributes to an image of the anaconda not as an opportunistic predator, but as a finely tuned organism optimized for control. It is worth considering the cultural echoes the snake has inspired. Indigenous groups across the Amazon revere and fear the anaconda in equal measure, weaving it into myths as a creator spirit, a river deity, or a force of punishment. These narratives capture an intuitive truth: the snake is inseparable from the rivers. To harm one is to disrupt the other. To see one emerge from the water is to witness the river itself made flesh. If one accepts the possibility of an alien hand in shaping the Amazon's guardians, the cultural weight of the anaconda suggests it has long been recognized as more than animal. It is symbol and sentinel, a living embodiment of threshold and consequence. Its ecological significance extends beyond direct predation. By influencing prey populations, anacondas indirectly shape vegetation patterns along riverbanks. Fewer capybaras grazing means shifts in plant growth, which in turn affects insect populations and bird distributions. Through a cascade of connections, the constrictor exerts control far beyond its immediate kills. The Amazon's complexity is such that the removal of one apex predator could unravel entire systems, and with the anaconda, the stakes are magnified by its scale and adaptability. In the lens of the alien zoo theory, such cascading influence could be seen as intentional programming. The snake is not merely surviving, but enforcing boundaries, shaping flows, preserving balance. Its coils are not just weapons, but mechanisms of regulation, constricting not only the bodies of prey, but the excesses of entire populations. To approach its rivers is to approach a guarded gate, where access is permitted only at cost. As dusk falls, the river's surface darkens, and the chorus of frogs and insects swells into a dense wall of sound. Beneath it all, the anaconda moves silently, an immense shadow gliding through submerged grasses. It does not need to announce its presence. The creatures of the forest already know. They drink cautiously, cross quickly, and linger at their peril. For within these waters, the balance is enforced by muscle and patience, by a predator that has claimed the rivers as its domain. Whether viewed as apex predator or engineered sentinel, the truth remains: the Amazon's waterways cannot be imagined without the anaconda. It is both terror and necessity, both regulator and enforcer. To enter its realm is to encounter the jungle's immune system, coiled and waiting, ready to constrict not only prey, but the very idea of trespass. And so the theory persists. Perhaps the anaconda is not merely the product of evolution, but part of a failsafe, a guardian placed at the arteries of Earth, ensuring that the secrets of the Amazon remain locked beneath layers of water, scale, and silence. The rivers of the Amazon are usually places of weight. Water presses down with constant resistance, dragging at each body that moves through it. Fish cut with swaying tails, caimans push with heavy strokes, even birds that dive must fight against its density. Gravity and water together seem to conspire against speed. Yet in this land of extremes, there is one creature that refuses to play by these rules. At the edge of a sunlit river, a small lizard bursts from the foliage. Its legs churn at impossible speed, and instead of sinking, it runs across the water's surface, scattering droplets into the air as it streaks from one bank to the other. For a few breathtaking seconds, it appears as though gravity itself has been suspended. This is the basilisk lizard, a reptile so finely tuned to its environment that it seems to belong not to Earth's physics, but to a different set of laws entirely. The basilisk, Basiliscus basiliscus, often called the Jesus Christ lizard, earns its reputation from this ability alone. To an observer unfamiliar with the mechanics, the sight borders on supernatural. But behind the spectacle lies a remarkable convergence of anatomy, physics, and behavior. The lizard's hind limbs are unusually long and muscular, and each foot is fringed with specialized scales that expand upon striking the water. With enough speed, often exceeding 1.5 meters per second, the lizard can slap its feet hard enough against the surface to generate pockets of air. For an instant, each step creates a platform, a bubble of resistance strong enough to support its weight before collapsing. By repeating this action with astonishing rhythm, the basilisk extends its run for 10, 20, sometimes even 30 meters before sinking into a swim. This adaptation is more than a novelty. For a small animal living in an environment dominated by predators on both land and water, the ability to escape across a river's surface is a survival strategy of rare ingenuity. Jaguars patrol the banks, snakes lurk in branches, caiman wait in the shallows, and raptors patrol the skies. The basilisk's gift is not strength, but unpredictability. Few hunters anticipate prey that flees onto the river itself. For a predator lunging from the undergrowth, that moment of hesitation is all the lizard needs. In this way, running across water is not just spectacle, it is life insurance. Yet this escape strategy is also costly. To maintain its momentum, the basilisk must generate extraordinary bursts of energy, engaging muscles at the edge of their capacity. Its body overheats quickly under such exertion, forcing the lizard to return to shade or water soon after. In effect, it has traded endurance for the ability to bend the rules of physics in short, spectacular bursts. This trade-off illustrates the constant balancing act of evolution. Advantages are rarely free. The basilisk is not an unlimited defier of gravity, but a specialist in exploiting its loopholes. Its relationship with the river goes deeper still. Basilisks are semi-aquatic, and when not sprinting across surfaces, they are capable swimmers and divers. If startled near water and unable to run, they will plunge beneath, holding their breath for up to half an hour, by slowing their heart rate and distributing oxygen sparingly throughout the body. On land, they climb trees with equal ease, basking on branches that overhang streams. Their entire existence seems to straddle boundaries, land and water, gravity and suspension, visibility and disappearance. This liminal lifestyle feeds the sense that the basilisk is less an ordinary reptile than a demonstration of what the rules of the jungle can be stretched to allow. From an ecological standpoint, basilisks are omnivores. They feed on insects, small vertebrates, and a wide range of fruits, making them both predator and seed disperser. By carrying seeds across rivers and into new habitats, they contribute quietly to the forest's regeneration, extending plant lineages into fresh territory. In this way, the lizard's role as a physical boundary crosser is mirrored in its ecological function. It connects space that would otherwise remain separate. Its footsteps scatter more than droplets. They scatter the jungle's genetic future. But what if the basilisk is more than an evolutionary oddity? Within the framework of the alien zoo theory, its abilities carry a different resonance. Running across water, bending physics for moments at a time, is not simply survival, it is demonstration. A reminder that the very laws humans consider fixed can be manipulated in the living world. If frogs are chemical carriers and anacondas are gatekeepers, then perhaps the basilisk is a messenger species, placed here as proof that gravity is not immutable. Each sprint across the surface is a signal, a living anomaly designed to show that Earth's ecosystem carries within it not just adaptations, but hints of a deeper authorship. Such an interpretation gains weight when one considers how conspicuous the behavior is. Most survival strategies in the Amazon rely on subtlety, camouflage, stealth, silence. The basilisk does the opposite. Its run across water is noisy, showy, impossible to ignore. It draws the eye of predators, rivals, and researchers alike. Why evolve a defense that announces itself so flamboyantly unless the very spectacle has value? The theory suggests the basilisk's gift is not only for survival, but for display, a performance of what life can do under different parameters of control. The lizard's physiology hints at this duality of design. Its bones are lightweight yet reinforced, its muscles capable of rapid-fire contractions sustained only briefly. Even its metabolism reflects a creature optimized for sudden extremes, not steady endurance. These traits, taken together, create a body engineered for paradox, fragile in one sense, yet capable of extraordinary feats when conditions demand. Such contradictions echo the possibility of deliberate placement, as though the basilisk were constructed less for balance and more for shock. A reminder to any who witness it that the jungle is not bound by ordinary logic. Humans who have lived alongside the basilisk have long recognized this sense of otherness. In Central and South American folklore, the lizard is often cast as a trickster spirit, a creature that cheats death by slipping across barriers others cannot. To see one run across a river is to witness the impossible made flesh, a vision that lingers in memory long after the ripples fade. For indigenous groups, these moments became symbols of resilience and cunning, woven into stories that blur the line between natural history and myth. Biologically, however, the basilisk is still vulnerable. Birds of prey can snatch juveniles. Large snakes will ambush them on land. Even the act of running across water is only effective if the distance to safety is short. The jungle does not allow miracles without cost, and yet, generation after generation, the basilisk persists, its improbable strategy surviving against odds. To the lens of natural selection, this is proof of effectiveness. To the lens of the alien zoo, it is evidence of programming, a failsafe that ensures the demonstration remains alive. When viewed within the broader system of the Amazon's so-called guardians, the basilisk occupies a unique niche. The frog defends chemically. The anaconda constrains physically. The bat surveils through sound. But the basilisk alone communicates through spectacle, its very movement a message. It does not guard or punish so much as remind. Its existence whispers, or perhaps shouts, that the fabric of natural law can flex. As dusk settles on the river, the lizard remains poised at the edge of a branch, head tilted toward the darkening water. It waits, perfectly still, before dropping and sprinting across the surface in a blur of droplets and ripples. For seconds it becomes an emblem of defiance against gravity, a creature caught between the possible and the impossible. When it vanishes into the opposite bank's undergrowth, the river returns to silence, but the impression lingers. In the context of survival, this is simply one lizard's flight. In the context of theory, it may be something far more profound, a message encoded not in sound or chemical, but in spectacle, proof that the rules of Earth's physics are not as fixed as we believe. The basilisk is not just surviving in the Amazon, it is performing, embodying a paradox that invites us to question whether the boundaries of nature were written by evolution alone or by hands unseen, leaving their lessons alive in scale, muscle, and waterborne miracles. The moment the sun sinks below the horizon, the rainforest undergoes a transformation. Colors drain from the canopy, and the vibrant diurnal chorus of birds and insects fades into a subdued murmur. For a brief pause, the forest seems to hold its breath. Then, from the dark mouth of a limestone cave, soundless shadows erupt into the twilight. Thousands of bats spiral into the sky, a living vortex of wings twisting and uncoiling above the tree line. Their silhouettes merge into one seamless body, a swarm so dense it appears as a single organism, flexing and flowing with purpose. To the untrained eye, this spectacle is chaos. To the bats, it is the beginning of order. Bats are the only mammals capable of sustained flight, and in the Amazon, they fill the night air with extraordinary diversity. Nearly 200 species occupy niches ranging from pollinators to blood feeders, insect hunters to fruit distributors. Yet what unites them all is their mastery of darkness. Unlike most creatures that retreat when light vanishes, bats thrive in the absence of vision. They navigate by echolocation, emitting high-frequency calls that bounce against leaves, insects and branches, returning echoes so precise they form a three-dimensional map of the night. To them, the forest is never silent. It is a constant flood of information, every rustle and wing beat translated into data. The mechanics of echolocation are staggering. Some species emit calls exceeding 100,000 hertz, far above the range of human hearing. Their brains process these echoes at speeds that rival the most sophisticated military sonar, distinguishing prey from clutter in milliseconds. An insect no larger than a mosquito can be detected mid-flight, plucked from the air in total darkness. The bat's ears, often sculpted into elaborate shapes, act as acoustic lenses, fine-tuning the direction and sensitivity of their perception. What seems to us an invisible void is, to them, a world alive with detail, a hidden reality made audible. This ability elevates bats beyond hunters. In ecological terms, they are regulators of staggering importance. Insectivorous bats consume vast numbers of mosquitoes, moths and beetles, limiting populations that would otherwise surge uncontrollably. Their predation curbs crop pests and disease vectors, providing an invisible service not only to the forest, but to human communities on its edges. Fruit-eating bats disperse seeds across vast distances, often depositing them in open areas where regeneration is most needed. Flower-feeding bats pollinate nocturnal blooms that no bird or bee touches, ensuring the continuity of plants adapted to the night. Collectively, they act as stabilizers, balancing systems that would collapse without their oversight. It is this role as unseen regulators that lends weight to the alien zoo theory. What if bats are not simply products of evolution, but designed watchers, biological drones that patrol the night skies, ensuring nothing escapes unnoticed? Their echolocation, so precise it can distinguish textures of surfaces, resembles surveillance more than hunting. Their constant movements map not only where prey flies, but how populations shift, how activity pulses through the forest after dark. In this view, bats do not merely consume. They record, monitor, and correct. They are the nocturnal intelligence system of the Amazon, a vast network of winged satellites observing the planet from ground level. The sheer scale of their presence strengthens this interpretation. A single cave can house colonies numbering in the millions, their combined flights covering hundreds of square kilometers in a single night. From above, their swirling emergence resembles data streams spilling from a central hub. The analogy is striking. Bats as servers, dispersing across the system, gathering information and returning it before dawn. What data they collect in the speculative lens of the theory may not be food alone, but information on insect populations, migration patterns, or the state of the ecosystem itself. But surveillance is not their only contribution. Bats' interactions ripple outward into other species, shaping the very architecture of the jungle. By dispersing fig seeds, they propagate one of the rainforest's keystone trees, whose fruit sustains hundreds of birds and mammals during lean seasons. Their guano, rich in nitrogen and phosphorus, fertilizes cave ecosystems, feeding insects, crustaceans, and blindfish that depend on this rain of nutrients. Insectivorous bats, by moderating pest levels, indirectly protect plant communities and the animals that rely on them. Their impact is systemic, far beyond what their small bodies would suggest. It is as if they are designed not only to survive, but to balance, to enforce equilibrium in subtle, unseen ways. Their adaptations extend into the realm of the extraordinary. Some species possess nose leaves, fleshy, ornate structures that focus their calls into beams, like biological sonar dishes. Others adjust the frequency of their calls mid-flight to avoid interference from neighbors, creating acoustic channels, much like human radio. The Brazilian free-tailed bat can fly at altitudes exceeding 3,000 meters and speeds of over 160 kilometers per hour, rivaling the fastest birds. Vampire bats, so often cast as villains, exhibit complex social behaviors, regurgitating blood to feed roost mates that failed to find a meal. Such altruism ensures survival of the colony, reinforcing the idea of bats as networked beings, functioning not as individuals but as nodes in a cooperative system. From the human perspective, these qualities blur into the uncanny. Creatures that navigate unseen, that operate in numbers so large they appear endless, that map the world through a sense we cannot perceive. Bats embody the alien within the familiar. To those who subscribe to the zoo theory, their existence is less accident than architecture. They are the forest's eyes and ears after the sun falls, ensuring the night does not become a blind spot in Earth's surveillance. Yet bats are not invincible. Their reliance on roosting sites makes them vulnerable to disturbance. Deforestation strips them of hollow trees and caves, forcing colonies to shrink or collapse. Disease can sweep through populations with devastating speed, as seen in North America's white nose syndrome caused by a fungal pathogen. Though the Amazon has not yet faced this particular scourge, the possibility illustrates their fragility. If bats are indeed guardians, then they are guardians under threat, and their absence would destabilize systems far beyond their immediate sphere. Even their physiology reflects a delicate balance. Flight demands high metabolic rates, yet bats offset this by entering torpor, lowering body temperature and conserving energy when food is scarce. Their immune systems are unusual, capable of tolerating viruses lethal to other mammals. Some researchers believe this resilience comes from their elevated metabolism and constant exposure to pathogens within dense colonies. To the zoo theorist, such immunity could be interpreted as design, a safeguard ensuring that the watchers remain functional, resistant to collapse even under biological siege. As night deepens, the aerial ballet of bats continues. In the beam of infrared cameras, individuals flit across the frame, each pursuing invisible prey, their calls a symphony beyond human hearing. Some dart close to the ground, sweeping meadows for moths. Others skim the river, scooping insects from the surface. Fruit bats move more slowly, their wings heavy with cargo, carrying seeds that will germinate in clearings miles away. Together they weave a tapestry of movement so complex it resembles circuitry, an interconnected web pulsing with life. And when dawn comes, they return in waves, streaming back to their roosts with precision, guided by memories of landscape and magnetic fields. The vortex that rose in darkness contracts once more into the stillness of stone. For another day, the watchers rest. In the framework of natural science, this cycle is vital. Bats as pest control, seed couriers, pollinators, nutrient donors. In the framework of theory, it is ritual, nightly surveillance, the jungle's secret satellites rising and returning, recording the pulse of the planet in silence. The image is compelling that the Amazon, and perhaps the Earth itself, does not sleep unguarded. Its sentinels emerge at dusk, cloaked in wings, armed with sonar, monitoring the night in ways we can neither hear nor see. Whether one accepts the theory or not, the truth is clear. Without bats, the jungle would falter. With them, the darkness remains alive, observed, and balanced. Beneath the rotting bark of a fallen log, where fungi bloom in pale clusters and termites move in endless lines, the ground is never still. Moisture beads on decomposing wood, and the air carries the musk of decay. A reminder that the rainforest's floor is not a graveyard, but a furnace of recycling, where everything living becomes raw material for something else. It is here, in this dim and humid underworld, that one of the most unsettling predators of the Amazon hides in plain sight. A long, armored body coils through the shadows, legs moving in perfect synchronization, each step like a gear in motion. Then, without warning, it strikes, fast, mechanical, almost unnatural in precision. This is Scolopendra gigantea, the giant centipede, and in a world defined by predators, it feels less like an animal than a weapon. The giant centipede can grow over 30 centimeters in length, a body segmented into repeating plates, each one armored and bristling with a pair of legs. To see it move is to watch a machine of living hydraulics. Its gait is mesmerizing. Dozens of legs ripple in waves that propel the body forward with fluid speed, allowing it to slip across bark, stone, or soil with equal ease. Unlike insects, whose 6 legs restrict them to certain speeds and gaits, centipedes can accelerate and pivot with remarkable agility. This mechanical elegance is paired with striking resilience. A scolopendra can flatten itself to squeeze through narrow cracks or climb vertical walls with little difficulty. To its prey, escape routes that seem secure become meaningless. Its primary weapons lie in its front pair of legs, which evolution has transformed into venom-injecting fangs, known as forcipules. When the centipede strikes, these modified limbs sink into flesh, delivering a cocktail of toxins that overwhelm nervous systems, disrupt ion channels, and cause agonizing pain. Small vertebrates such as lizards, frogs, or even birds collapse within seconds, subdued by a predator for smaller than themselves. Reports exist of Scolopendra subduing bats mid-flight by clinging to cave ceilings and snatching them as they pass, a hunting strategy that reveals the centipede's capacity for ambush in 3 dimensions. This is not a creature that simply scavenges. It pursues, calculates, and immobilizes. From an ecological perspective, Scolopendras are formidable controllers of the forest floor. They occupy the role of mesopredators, eliminating insects and small vertebrates that would otherwise proliferate unchecked. Their predation helps maintain balance in decomposer communities, preventing outbreaks that could destabilize nutrient cycling. Yet, unlike snakes or frogs, which are limited by their metabolic needs, Scolopendras feed opportunistically and frequently. Their metabolism demands regular meals, and their speed ensures a steady supply. In this sense, they are not patient sentinels, but relentless enforcers, patrolling the dark corners of the ecosystem with near-constant hunger. What makes the giant centipede feel alien is not simply its behavior, but its design. Its segmented body seems to echo robotics more than biology, a modular chain of repeating units powered by synchronized motion. Each leg moves in careful offset with its neighbors, a mechanical wave that translates into smooth locomotion. Unlike vertebrates, which depend on complex skeletal structures for coordination, Scolopendras rely on distributed control. Neural signals travel along their length, granting each segment a degree of autonomy while maintaining unity of movement. It is a nervous system that resembles decentralized programming, each part operating semi-independently, yet bound to the will of the whole. To a biologist, this is efficiency. To a theorist, it is design. The alien zoo theory frames the Scolopendra as more than predator. It is a synthetic attacker, a living machine programmed to infiltrate, strike, and eliminate. Unlike the frog, whose toxins defend passively, or the anaconda, whose ambush guards thresholds, their Scolopendra operates as an active assassin. It is small enough to infiltrate crevices, fast enough to chase prey into burrows, and venomous enough to disable creatures far larger than itself. If the jungle is imagined as a failsafe system, then the Scolopendra is its ground-level enforcer, the exterminator unit that moves through hidden corridors, ensuring that nothing escapes unchallenged. Even its sensory adaptations enhance this image of weaponization. Lacking true eyes capable of forming images, Scolopendras rely on antennae bristling with chemoreceptors and mechanoreceptors. These instruments detect vibrations, heat, and chemical signals, painting a world not of images but of touch, movement, and scent. To humans, this is blindness. To the centipede, it is precision targeting. It can track the faintest tremor of a beetle's movement or the chemical trace of a frog's passage. Vision is unnecessary when the entire world vibrates with information. Reproduction adds another layer of fascination. Females coil protectively around their eggs, guarding them from fungus and predators, grooming them with secretions that keep them clean. This maternal investment ensures a higher survival rate, but it also reveals something unexpected. Beneath their ruthless efficiency as hunters, Scolopendras exhibit complex care behaviors. They are not indiscriminate machines, but creatures wired for continuity, ensuring their lineage persists with careful oversight. In this balance of ferocity and care, they resemble guardians as much as assassins. Their venom has also drawn scientific interest. While painful and dangerous to humans, it is rarely lethal, but its biochemical complexity is profound. Some components modulate sodium and potassium channels in ways that disrupt nerve conduction, while others cause localized tissue damage. Research into centipede venom has revealed peptides with potential therapeutic applications, including pain management. The irony is familiar. What nature creates as a weapon against life may one day be refined into medicine that preserves it. Yet in the forest, this venom remains a tool of subjugation, efficient and uncompromising. Predators that hunt centipedes are few. Certain birds and large spiders occasionally manage to overpower them, but the risk of venomous retaliation often outweighs the reward. Their primary threats are environmental: flooding, desiccation, habitat loss. But within their chosen niche, they are nearly unrivaled. Their combination of speed, armor, venom, and resilience has made them one of the Amazon's most successful invertebrate predators for millions of years. Still, their appearance unsettles even seasoned observers. Their legs move in uncanny synchrony, their armored plates glisten with unnatural sheen, and their strikes are sudden and decisive. To witness one hunt is to confront a predator that seems engineered for intimidation as much as efficiency. It is no wonder that in the alien zoo theory, they are imagined as biomachines, organic infiltrators, left behind as part of a broader defense grid. Where anacondas guard rivers and bats monitor the skies, scolopendras dominate the hidden corridors of soil and wood, patrolling spaces no larger predator could reach. In cultural memory, they have often been vilified. Indigenous stories sometimes frame them as bringers of pain or symbols of danger lurking in darkness. Their very shape, with its multiplicity of legs, challenges human comfort with symmetry. They do not walk like us, see like us, or strike like us. They embody an otherness that feels deliberate, as though their role is not simply to live, but to unsettle, to remind us of the limits of our place in this system. As night falls and the forest floor cools, a giant centipede emerges from its hiding place, antennae probing the air. It moves with eerie silence, legs flowing like liquid mechanics, vanishing beneath leaves, then reappearing, with a frog clutched in its fangs. The struggle is brief. Venom flows, muscles lock, and the prey falls still. The centipede drags its prize into the dark, disappearing once more into the machinery of the forest floor. For the ecosystem, this act is routine. Predator and prey locked in the endless cycle of survival. For the theorist, it is demonstration, a living assassin programmed to infiltrate, strike, and vanish, leaving not race but silence. Whether born of natural selection or deliberate design, the scolopendra remains a singular force, the jungle's ground-level weapon, a reminder that not all guardians announce themselves with size or spectacle. Some hide in shadows, armored and patient, waiting for the moment to remind intruders that the Amazon does not surrender its secrets without resistance. From above, the Amazon stretches to the horizon in every direction, a living ocean of green. The canopy is not still but restless, shifting with breezes, rippling with bird flocks, trembling beneath the weight of unseen movements. Clouds of moisture rise like steam from a great engine, feeding the sky and drifting away to become rain once more. It is vast enough to appear eternal, a world unto itself. But within its enormity, when one looks closely, patterns begin to emerge. Certain animals, scattered across different domains of forest, water, and night, seem less like unrelated species and more like components of a single, interlocking system. Each is extreme, almost too perfect, as though chosen deliberately. And taken together, they resemble not only an ecosystem, but a failsafe, a living protocol embedded into the planet's most intricate machine. Consider first the poison dart frog. Its skin gleams like enamel in impossible colors, a defiance of camouflage in a place where most creatures fade into shadows. Within its tissues lie alkaloid toxins, borrowed from insects and transmuted into chemical codes that warn, paralyze, and kill. It is at once signal and safeguard, a repository of biochemical encryption. The frog's role is not brute strength, but coded defense, an alarm system that proclaims the presence of danger while guarding molecular secrets in plain sight. To view the frog is to glimpse a lock encoded in flesh, its patterns serving as both warning and cipher. The rivers, meanwhile, belong to the anaconda. Beneath the reflective skin of water, this massive serpent coils in silence, a living blockade. Its power is not in speed, but in thresholds. It waits at crossings where animals must pass and decides who may survive that passage. It is the embodiment of restraint and violence fused, feeding rarely but decisively, enforcing order on the arteries of the forest. The anaconda's strike is finality incarnate. If the jungle were a fortress, the rivers are its gates, and the serpent its gatekeeper. On the edges of these waterways lives the basilisk lizard, the defier of gravity. With each sprint across water, it reveals the fragility of physical laws, bending surface tension into platforms beneath its feet. Evolution explains the mechanics: fringed toes, rapid stride, bursts of power. Yet the spectacle lingers as a demonstration, a performance of possibility. Where most life obeys the constraints of weight and water, the basilisk briefly transcends them. It is less predator than messenger, an ambassador of anomaly, reminding all who see it that rules can be bent and that physics is not immutable but malleable in the right hands or claws. When darkness falls, the jungle does not sleep. Bats rise in spirals from caves and hollow trees, a living cloud of wings. They navigate not by sight, but by sound, constructing maps of their world from echoes. To them, the forest is never hidden. It is always illuminated by the geometry of returning signals. Their flight is more than foraging. In regulating insects, dispersing seeds, and pollinating flowers, they act as overseers of balance. But their true marvel lies in perception. They perceive what is invisible to us, monitoring in silence, functioning as the rainforest's surveillance system. If the frog is the lock and the anaconda the gate, then the bat is the watcher, the hidden satellite ensuring that no movement goes unrecorded when night descends. And beneath it all, armored in chitin and coiled in shadows, moves the scolopendra. Its body is a modular machine, segments working like synchronized gears, legs rippling in uncanny coordination. It does not wait passively, but hunts actively, its venom subduing frogs, birds, even bats in their roosts. Unlike the frog, it does not defend by warning. Unlike the anaconda, it does not block thresholds. Instead, it infiltrates and exterminates, slipping into cracks and crevices, attacking where no larger predator can reach. It is the system's assassin, a ground-level enforcer whose role is not spectacle but eradication. Individually, each of these species is extraordinary, a marvel of adaptation. Together they form something greater. The frog defends chemically. The anaconda constrains physically. The basilisk defies physics as reminder. The bats map and monitor invisibly. The scolopendra hunts with machine-like efficiency. Each occupies a domain: water, land, air, soil, and the chemical plane. No aspect of the jungle lies unguarded. Viewed through the speculative lens of the alien zoo theory, this is not coincidence. It is architecture. Biology insists on adaptation, on traits shaped by millennia of trial and error. But when the results converge into a system so complete, so interwoven, one must ask whether the pattern suggests not randomness, but intention. What if the Amazon is more than a forest? What if it is a vault, a living installation seeded with guardians that serve not only their ecological functions, but higher directives to protect, to observe, and if necessary, to reset? The implications ripple outward. If this forest is indeed a failsafe, then humanity's intrusion is not simply deforestation or resource extraction. It is tampering with a guarded installation, dismantling a protocol designed to preserve planetary balance. The frog's toxins, the serpent's coils, the lizard's defiance, the bat's surveillance, and the centipede's strikes all may be interpreted not just as survival strategies but as responses, rehearsals for defense on a larger scale. And the question that lingers, heavy as the air before a storm, is whether the failsafe has thresholds of its own. What happens when the system deems the balance broken beyond repair? Already hints emerge. Frogs vanish as toxins disappear from their diets, warning of ecological collapse. Anacondas retreat as rivers are dammed and poisoned. Basilisks lose their habitats as banks erode. Bats abandon roosts when forests fall. Centipedes, though resilient, vanish where soils dry. Each absence destabilizes the system, peeling away layers of its defense. But what if, instead of collapsing, the system shifts into a new mode? What if its purpose is not passive preservation but active correction? The thought is unsettling. A living mechanism, ancient and concealed within the Amazon, awaiting the trigger to reset. Whether such a reset is myth or science, metaphor or mechanism, one truth is undeniable. These species, extreme in form and function, do not simply inhabit the rainforest, they enforce it. Their presence ensures that this vast biome operates not as a random assembly of life, but as a coherent machine of survival, resilience, and response. As the camera pulls back, the canopy fills the frame once more, endless and alive. The frogs call from hidden pools, their neon bodies glowing like coded warnings. An anaconda slides beneath water, unseen but omnipresent. A basilisk streaks across the surface of a river, scattering droplets into the air. Bats spiral against the dusk, invisible in their surveillance but everywhere at once. A scolopendra coils beneath bark, its legs ticking like the gears of a hidden clock. Together they are more than life. They are system. They are code. They are the guardians of something older than memory. And so the final provocation lingers. If the Amazon is Earth's last vault, then every tree cut, every river poisoned, every species lost, is not merely destruction, but sabotage. Humanity may not be dismantling a forest, it may be dismantling a failsafe. And if the system awakens, if the guardians rise not merely as animals but as instruments of correction, then the question is no longer whether we understand the Amazon, but whether we can survive its response.